This just in, folks. Pokemon for Nintendo Switch is quote-unquote confirmed to be Generation 8. Yes, Generation 8. Oh boy. Now, before we get into the source of this information, I want to note why this even matters. Because to the layman out there, we just came off Generation 7, Pokemon Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun and Moon, etc. As much as I hate that we have like these sub-generations within generations, it is what it is. That's considered Generation 7. Obviously, for Nintendo Switch, it's supposed to be Generation 8, right? Well, not so fast, my friends, because there was a prevailing thought process. However, just a thought, no real evidence supporting that thought, that Pokemon on Switch could potentially be a reboot for the franchise. This is something I have talked about in the past wanting to happen per se, although I don't really know how they could do it and make everyone happy. Let's just be honest. It's impossible to please everyone. But yeah, that's big news. Big news that it's Generation 8, because it takes the reboot theory off the table. Now, that doesn't mean that there still can't be some sort of reboot. Technically, there had been prior generations that are considered full gens, like new gens, that are like quote-unquote types of reboots for the franchise, although they failed at rebooting the franchise, and it never became a true reboot, and it just became part of the lore, and blah, 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 blah. Like, Pokemon has tried to reboot the franchise before. It is factually true. They've tried it at least 2 times I can think of. Both times failed to really do the whole reboot thing, but whatever. We're just going to move on here and just get into the juicy stuff. So there was a Comic-Con of sorts in Spain. I mean, of course there was. These things happen all over the world. And Nintendo was partnered with said Comic-Con and had a booth at said Comic-Con. And at that booth, they were handing out the Nintendo official branded magazine. Now, we do not know that Nintendo themselves actually writes this magazine. What we do know is that they are affiliated with Nintendo. So if you guys remember how Nintendo Power worked in the United States, Nintendo Power was actually its own entity. It wasn't actually part of Nintendo of America. What it was partnered with Nintendo of America. So yes, they would have easier access for getting interviews or getting new information, and they would always get all of the latest Nintendo games well before even most of the media did. But they technically were not affiliated with Nintendo. So there was a lot of things in Nintendo Power Magazine that ended up not necessarily being true. We have to keep this in mind. However, Nintendo themselves wasn't handing out Nintendo Power magazines at Comic-Cons, right? So Nintendo themselves, Nintendo of Europe, or Nintendo of Spain, I'm sure the subsection of Europe, was handing out these official magazines. And here's an image proving that this was the case. And what's interesting is a page inside of it, or more like the back cover, I don't know exactly, I don't have the magazine in front of me, has some exclusive games that are coming to Switch. You know, they mentioned Pokemon and Metroid Prime 4 and Project Octopath Traveler, the new Fire Emblem game, Bayonetta 3, No More Heroes, Yoshi, and The World Ends With You. And there's really not any new information on this page. It's mostly just a brief summary of what these games are and a little bit of history, like how Metroid Prime hasn't been around since the Wii and blah, blah, blah. So that's all fine and dandy. But if you actually look closely at the Pokemon section here, closely, you'll see it says Octava Generación. Now, I totally butchered a really beautiful language. I only took Spanish 101. I've had other people look at this and translate the whole thing for me, and there's not really any new information in here outside of the fact that it does say that this is the 8th generation of Pokemon. Now, again, this was handed out by an official Nintendo entity. It is an officially licensed and affiliated magazine, and just like Nintendo Power, it could be wrong. This could just be a general assumption by whoever the editor is, whoever the writer was, and it just slipped through the cracks because they didn't think that calling Pokemon an 8th generation is really some big breaking news. But here it is. It's in front of you. This very well could be nothing. It may mean absolutely nothing. It could just be a misprint or a misunderstanding. However, Pokemon has always ran in generations. it's very likely that it's going to be Generation 8. Even if this was a reboot, even if this rebooted the whole franchise, it still could be referred to as the 8th generation. They're not going to forget about the prior 7 generations, even in a reboot, as they attempted in the past. So, does this mean that it's not a reboot? Not really. Does this mean that it is the 8th generation of Pokemon? Absolutely. Was there any doubt it was the 8th generation of Pokemon? Absolutely not. So this is why it's such a weird thing. I saw this pop up first on a YouTuber named Veryl Safai, which apparently a lot of people don't like him. I don't know a lot about it. Apparently he's had some weird social takes on things and has upset quite a lot of people by some of his opinions and his stances in certain aspects of life. Well, I don't know the guy. I'm not here to judge him. Assuming he's a guy. I guess I shouldn't even assume he's a guy. I literally do not know anything about this YouTuber. Had never heard about him until this story came across my desk, which was from some of our lovely fans on our Discord server. And then I did some digging into it, and all of these images come from a YouTuber named Annabella. And it's at Rakero. I don't know. I'll have a link down to the source of this information in the description. And yeah, I mean, it's weird to me that this is news. It's not just this YouTuber. I've seen some other YouTubers cover it. Other YouTubers have chosen not to. And then you might be saying, Nate, why aren't you covering it if you don't really think it's news? Because I just think this stuff is weird. I think it's just weird. I think that it's very weird, very strange that this has become the world that we live in. That this is news. Like, congrats, people. The 8th generation of Pokemon is coming. Now, some people have taken this a little further to say it says it's coming in 2018. That's not, in fact, what it says on the page. It says 2018 or later, which is exactly what it says on all of their financial reports, where it says, launch date 2018 or later. So this isn't even an update on that. So no, this does not mean Pokemon's coming this year. Maybe this fiscal year, don't know, but not this year necessarily. Oh, man. All I know is we're going to see Pokemon at E3, right? At some point, we're going to see Pokemon. It's just going to happen, right? It has to be happening. Oh, man. And it's weird that I'm choosing to talk about this, right? Because Sega had that thing like a couple nights ago, and there was all this news from that we haven't covered yet that we'll go over on tomorrow's Prime News. But I wanted to single this news out because we're not going to talk about this on Prime News because this is not news. Like, this is nothing. Absolutely nothing. But the internet's kind of sort of trying to make it a thing. So here we talked about it. There's your information. Have at it. We're not having a Prime comments this week, for those that are wondering. I kind of had a low video slate last week, so we didn't have as many comments as normal, and I did respond to most of the ones that I would have responded to anyways. So we'll hopefully hit it back hard this week. But here, you get this video instead. Enjoy. Dislike it. Whatever. I'm not trashing people for making a big deal out of this. I guess I'm making a big deal out of it, but I don't know. This is just such a weird thing that I'm even talking about, if I'm being honest. And I was worried about this story all last night. Here's a fun fact. Here's story time with Nate from Nintendo Prime. I took my family to a hotel last night. No, not like a faraway hotel. It's like blocks away from my house. Not even a big deal. My kids had never been there. And they have like a mini water park inside. It's not really even a water park. It's actually just a really nice hotel for kids. It does have a water slide, but I still wouldn't consider it a water park. It's just a nicer than normal hotel, like, pool area. And it's all indoors, and we're in the middle of a snowstorm. So I'm like, you know what, guys? Let's pack up. Let's go spend the night at the hotel. Use the last bit of money I have and just have a night together, family, no news. Then this news kind of hit my table, and I was panicking all night that I did not have any of my recording equipment with to make a video. And I come back today. I'm spending more time with my family. I sit down. I watch the Bucks lose their playoff game, which is, I'm a huge Milwaukee Bucks fan. I'm nothing against Boston, but I really hope we take it to you on Tuesday. But then I start digging into this, and this is what I find. It's practically a non-story. Here everyone's telling me that it's confirmed 2018. That was the big news I was trying to run with, is that this is confirmed for 2018, but it's not. So there you go. Story time with Nate is over. My family had a good time. I had a good time. And, I'm Nathaniel Rovagents from Nintendo Prime. Like the video if you like it. Dislike it if you dislike it. Hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys for our regular Prime News tomorrow.